Okay, good evening. I'm going to call to order the public meeting for the Dixon Unified Board of Trustees. Before I go to closed session, I'll look for public questions or comments on closed session. But seeing that we have no public in the meeting, I will go ahead and adjourn to closed session. Thank you. We have no announcements from closed session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, great. Thank you. Roll call. Lucas?
Present.
Lloyd?
Present.
Jewel?
Present.
Melissa?
I'm here.
Catlin?
Here.
And I'm here as well. We have a quorum. Notice to public, as we've been doing in the past, please hold your hand until the appropriate time to raise it for comment, whether that's open comment or comment on a particular agenda item. The board president will recognize you for the discussion at the appropriate time. Non-scheduled agenda items will be introduced under section 10 on the agenda. Speakers may be limited to 5 minutes per topic at the discretion of the board president. In the interest of conducting efficient meetings and ensuring that they are as structured as possible while being held under the Zoom format, participants are requested to turn off their cameras unless making a public comment. Participants are not required to use their camera during public comment, but are encouraged to do so. Additionally, participants in the meeting will be allowed one opportunity to make public comment on any agenda item. The board president will not recognize speakers seeking to make any additional public comment on any given agenda item after they have already made public comment. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9324B, the district may tape, film, stream, or broadcast any open board meeting. The recording or broadcast may capture images or sounds of those attending the meeting. Any district recording may be erased or destroyed 30 days after the meeting. Recordings made at the directions of the board during a meeting are public records and upon request shall be made available for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. Recognition of guests and presentations.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Fuster. We're going to recognize you tonight, actually. For those who might not be aware, this is Luke's final meeting in his term as governing board member of Dixon Unified School District. He has served this year as our president, which has many additional demands, including having to meet with me every Friday. That's probably amongst the most challenging of them of all. Luke joined the board on his second attempt, I guess I would say. Melissa Masita beat him out for a board appointment. What, Luke?
I said twice.
Twice now. Well, once we had board member Andy Bloom who had to resign, and Melissa was appointed at that time, and Luke also was in that process. And then we came to the election of that year, and we had 3 seats open and only 2 candidates. So we went back to an appointment process after the election. And Luke joined the board that night. He had an interview from the podium and was selected, identified as our new member, walked up the stairs and took his seat on the dais. And from that very first meeting, Luke has done absolutely everything in his power to serve our students and our staff and families. He's been a really excellent board member. He's even a better man, quite honestly, which is a big statement given the nature of how he has worked on behalf of the district. So for me personally, Luke, You've been great support and asset, helped me become a better superintendent, and I'm grateful for that. And on behalf of all of these people that you have served beyond this guy who's talking here, our sincere thanks. We will be getting for you just really quickly this nice paperweight, which will have your name on it. That's actually en route with your years that you served on the board, and statement thank you for your service. So we are grateful for everything you've done. And I would invite any other members of the board, excuse me, to join in recognizing Luke here for his service if you'd like.
I'd like to recognize Luke for his service and just say that, Luke, you have been such a thoughtful and serious board member. You've upped all of our games in this, honestly. You know, I also meet with you and Brian every morning, every Friday. Feels like every morning. It's really just every Friday morning. But you know, I just right. But I'm always so impressed at your that you do your homework way above and beyond. That you have the serious questions. That you're so thoughtful and so kid-centered. And you know, and adult-centered as well, but you know, you can tell this is really part of your heart, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you.
And I as well. You know, I didn't really, even though I've been in education a long time, I was always on the other side presenting to the board. It was a little scary when I won and walked up to sit in my seat for the first time. And Luke, you said, congratulations. And it was just so nice and gracious, and you made me feel at home. And I appreciate it. And I count you as one of my dear friends forever.
And Luke,
Whether
we've
you
worked
like it or not.
Luke, we've worked pretty closely on a lot of things, and I appreciate your hard work and your dedication and your caringness and your thoughtfulness. And I don't know, you know, I think sometimes people see the work that the board does, but really what they don't know is the majority of our work goes beyond the scenes, hours and hours and hours. And Luke, you've done it better than anyone. So thank you for all your hard work. And you know, I'm going to be right there nagging you that this is not the end of seeing you. You might be sick of me. You might block me on your phone, but I appreciate the friendship and your family and also the sacrifice of your family. It is a sacrifice to families having us serve. And so hopefully they're listening. And so thank you to them as well.
Luke, like you, I was appointed to the board in April, and I really do need to thank you for all the help and support in guiding me through these very challenging times. Mm-hmm. And you've been a great mentor, and you will be missed. And once again, congratulations on everything you've done in helping Dixon Unified School District move in the right direction.
Yep. Thank you very, very much for everything that you've done.
Thank you. So, so can I say a few words?
I wanted to encourage you for you to take this opportunity. Yes.
So, most of the people watching probably don't know, you know, and I haven't written anything up, but I as a lawyer can't pass up a chance to speak and hear my own voice. So, I grew up the son of a coach, football, tennis, track, and from a very young age, I was taught, you know, sportsmanship. People don't brag, people don't boast if they're a good sport. And so I've taken that so to heart that it's hard for me to even hear people say nice things about me like this. So I told Brian beforehand, I'd probably turn my sound all the way off when this stuff started. But I actually didn't. So thank you to all of you. I did listen to it. You know, I got into this, as the same as all of us, to try to make a difference, to try to help with the community and the kids in the community. And as Melissa said, a lot of people, when they see us come up here and hold a meeting and they see us listen to a presentation and vote on things, they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So when I got on the board, I decided I was going to try to do 4 things procedurally. Come prepared, and that often means reading and understanding hundreds of pages for a meeting. Listen open-minded for comments, no matter what they are. Be respectful, vote my conscience, and consider all the opinions put to me. And so I feel like I've done that. So I feel like I can walk away feeling good about what I did here on the board. I want to say, and my phone's dinging, sorry. I want to say a few thank yous of my own. First of all, to all of you on the board, because it's been such a pleasure. Even when we've disagreed on things, the level of kindness and professionalism, you guys' ability to listen to each other and compromise and come to a decision based on what's best for kids. And that's really what we should be focusing on. Brian, thank you for helping break me in when I started and kind of didn't have a clue what was going on. I appreciate that. And it's never been any question in my mind that the kids come first, and that's what you're doing. And that's what you want to do, is what's right by the kids, and that's the way it should be. Thank you to all your cabinet for their hard work. In a small district, everyone wears a lot of hats, and people put in a lot of time to try to make things work. And I'm just so impressed at how they do all the work they do. Thank you to all the teachers and all the classified staff. You guys, you're the ones that touch students' lives on a daily basis. You're the ones that make a difference. It's fine for us to sit here and make decisions, but you guys are the ones that really change lives. And so you've done great. This has been such a hard time, especially since March. Please keep it up. I know you guys all can. And last but not least, thank you to my loving wife and kids who have put up with me missing meals and being off reading and all of that when I could have been spending time with them. So on that, I'm not going to do the mic drop and leave the meeting, although, yeah, maybe I should. But we'll go ahead and move on. And thank you very much. That I can't tell you, in addition to all of your comments, the emails I've gotten from the employees and the public telling me what they thought I did a good job and supporting me. I can't express how much that means to me from all of you. So thank you very much. Okay. I guess let's move on to correspondence.
None tonight.
Okay. Consent agenda. We didn't have a correspondence item?
Not this time. Had 2 last time, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, maybe I'm looking at an old. Okay, consent agenda. Do we have any board questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, do we have any public questions on the consent agenda?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Lloyd?
Aye.
Buell?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catlin?
Aye.
I'm aye as well. And Lucas, provisional vote?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Consent agenda is approved. We have no items pulled from the consent agenda. Stakeholder communications, student representative. Take it, Lucas.
Well, first, I would like to say that it's kind of hard to follow everything that has already come, but I'm gonna try my best. So, hello, everybody. As we transition back into the purple tier, our events and activities at the school are being modified as we are preparing to stay in distance learning for the foreseeable future. Dixon High School leadership is beginning to do fundraising, including custom DHS masks, mask sales that will help increase school spirit, along with the sale of class shirts. The fundraising, the funds raised by these activities intended to subsidize the cost of graduation for our 2020 class, prom, and other events moving forward. We will also be holding our first digital rally on December the 4th in hopes to create a sense of normalcy and community. As far as my position as the voice of the students at DHS, I will be putting together a series of school-wide surveys in order to transfer the valuable data directly from the students to the board here at these meetings. That's it.
Super.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you, Lucas. Okay, Citizens Oversight Committee.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, district, and community folks. I'm Tad Smith, Chair of the Dixon Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. I can't believe it, but we've held our 5th Zoom meeting last night and reviewed a large set of documents. We approved the budget and expenditure reports as valid Q items for the main budget, the program report, the John Knight Mills School project, and the Anderson renovation project, as presented by Lee Coop from School Site Solutions. Then we reviewed the vendor payment history report using a format where we could see payments broken down by specific vendors. This was a new style for the committee, so Monique Stovall was kind enough to go through a few examples for us. Seeing the full payment history for each vendor is a useful way to monitor the charges to measure Q money. On a more exciting note of progress, the furniture and equipment for John Knight Mills School will start arriving later this month. So we received an update on the timeline and costs for that. Committee members also asked questions about school signage, landscaping, and security at John Knight Mills School, and also C.A. Jacobs, because once the teachers vacate that building, it's going to be left empty. So as we get close to completion of the work at John Knight Mills School, we reviewed the documents for Valley relocation to handle the move from C.A. Jacobs to the Mills School, something already approved by the school board on October 15th. We also reviewed the information for Yuba Sutter Inspection Services to do the testing work for the windows and kitchen project. This was also approved by a school board on October 1st, and we viewed these items as valid Measure Q expenditures. So the school board tonight will review several new items, which the CBOC reviewed as valid Measure Q expenses last night. This includes the recommendation to use GluMac as the firm to commission the utility services at John Knight Mills School as meeting California Energy Code and other regulatory requirements. Also, Wallace, Cool and Associates will need to have their contract extended to continue their testing and inspection service as work is still continuing at the middle school. Superintendent Dolan and the CBOC discussed how to handle the review for the upcoming fiscal and performance audit from the firm James Martin Company for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. They should issue the report sometime later this month, but it might be delayed a bit due to the strange times we are living through. Most likely, we will try for a joint CBOC and school board meeting sometime in January to do the review, but that might change as we get more information on the timing of the report release from James Martin. So I would like to extend a thank you to Luke Foster, Joel Fink, and Lloyd McCabe for monitoring the discussion last night. The CBOC really appreciates your interest. To members of the public, I would encourage more participation in the meetings, particularly as we finish the work at John Knight Mills School and make the transition to planning for the upgrades at Anderson and Tremont Elementary Schools. Our next scheduled meeting will be January 20th. And Luke, I kind of jumped the gun 2 weeks ago in thanking you for the service to the CBOC, because I knew if I went into some detail tonight, I'd be over my 3 minutes. But I've really enjoyed working with you, and it is really appreciated by all members of the CBOC. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciated it then, and I appreciate it now. Is the CBOC still looking for a member or two as well? Would you like to say something about that?
We do have a vacancy that's been open for almost a year. So
Yeah.
if there are people out there, we would sure love to have a 7th member.
Great.
I'll send you the application tomorrow, Luke.
Okay, thank you, Tad. Okay, employee association reports. I see Kathy Michaels has her hand up.
Good evening. I don't know that you can see me because I'm in my car, so I'm going to keep my video off. The DTA continues its negotiation with the school board and the district office. We are working to have an MOU that cares for the safety of our members while supporting the strongest education possible for our students. We are chagrined that the county has reverted to purple. The duty of the DTA is to our members to ensure that they and their students return to a safe workplace. Therefore, we strongly encourage our members, our students, our families, and the community in general to adhere to health guidelines so that we can return to school sites with our students because we truly miss them. On a personal note, I too wish you well, Luke, and thank you for your service to Dixon students and staff.
Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any other employee association reports?
Susie is up next.
Go ahead, Susie.
Hi, I was just trying to get off my video. Good evening, Susie Altieri, SEIU president. I just have a few thank yous tonight that I'd like to share. I'd like to thank our TPM and custodial staff that helped with the drive-through flu shot clinic. Daniel Ortiz, Danielle Hubbard, Sandra Guerrero, Bettina Gooden, and Alicia Perez. All helped, and including Daniel, who came from another site to come over to Tremont and help with that. So we want to thank them. And I want to thank management. We're working with HR right now, and we are supporting our classified staff with some new PDs. So we're very excited about it. It's very long overdue. And we have some good things coming up for our classified members to participate in. So just what we're hoping will be the beginning of some really great professional development for our members to expand their knowledge and just to overall increase some support for our staff. We're continuing to meet also with the reopening plan, making sure that we address a lot of the concerns that our members have of returning as well. We'd like to return as well. We have many members who are anxious to get back, work with their students. And, you know, we also have some uneasy folks that are a little concerned with the spikes right now. But, you know, just to ensure, again, the highest safety precautions, and we'll continue to meet with them and work all of those things out. Our members are continuing to find ways to support our students, working together on these uncertain times. And so I want to thank all of them. We have some folks who have maybe a little bit lighter loads right now, but we also have a lot of members impacted greatly in a lot of different ways. And they're continuing to do their work to support our staff and our students. And on a final note, Luke, I'd really like to thank you for your professionalism, for your, you know, your lens. You're always looking through a lens for equity for everyone, I feel like, and your sacrifices and service to this district were invaluable. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Susie. Okay, do we have any parent association reports? I see Michelle's hand is up.
That's me. Hi, good evening, board. I'm Superintendent Dolan. I am representing the Tremont Parent Association tonight. Just a couple of announcements from us. We had our meeting last Tuesday. We were able to come up with some ideas on how we can show our appreciation to teachers and staff at Tremont over the holidays and beyond. It feels good to be able to recognize all the hard work that they've put in educating our students. We have a fundraiser going on right now. Don't log off and go there, but send someone else from your home to Panda Express right now. And if you've already eaten dinner, that's okay. Save it for lunch or dinner tomorrow. Our chair just went through, she texted and said she didn't even need the flyer. She just said she was there for Tremont. The flyer is on our Facebook page in case you need it. And next Wednesday, you can go to Baskin Robbins and stock up on ice cream for Thanksgiving to go with your pies. So there's 2 opportunities to help support Tremont. These fundraisers are really helpful for us as they support our PBIS and community building projects. You know, our kids weren't able to sell wrapping paper and stuff this year. So these kind of restaurant fundraisers really help our community out. Our next meeting is Tuesday, December 8th at 7 o'clock. Our meetings are under an hour, so it's not a huge time commitment. We would really love to see more parents join in. And I will echo everyone else. Thank you, Mr. Foster, for your service to our community.
Thank you, Michelle. Do we have any other parent association reports? Okay, seeing none. Public comment. Persons wishing to introduce a topic within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district and not on the agenda may do so at this time. By law, subjects not on the agenda cannot be acted upon by the board, except to briefly respond, clarify, or refer to staff for review and presentation at a future meeting. Comments may be limited to 5 minutes per person to a maximum of 25 minutes per topic, unless extended by the board president. Comments are to be directed exclusively to the governing board, and the board president shall determine who, if anyone, may respond to the comments or questions of the speaker. Do we have any public comment?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none. Item 11, information, discussion, and action. 11A1, COVID-19 and the 2020-2021 school year reopening plan. This is an information and discussion item.
Thank you, Luke. Mark, if you can set me up to share there. And first I need to apologize. I did not make sure that this was posted. I intended for this to be an information discussion action item. And on the cover page, which is attached, I stated it that way, and on the agenda, I didn't. So I can't have the board take action on anything tonight, although you will see at the end, I think there's some very clear steps that they can ask us to follow up on as they wish. So I'm going to give you this and move quickly through some information. I should probably go back to the start of it. Okay. You know, we know, unfortunately, we're in red, and there is really pretty widespread anticipation. We're going to be in red for a while. Excuse me, purple. I guess wishful thinking. Yeah, purple. Yeah, it's just not good news. It's discouraging, I think, to most folks. And let me get into slideshow. There we go, full screen. Okay. So this did happen on Monday unexpectedly. We did anticipate actually being placed into the purple tier this coming week. So conditions rapidly deteriorating, I guess is the correct word to say. We were caught off guard that happened on Monday. What's the impact of this? We were planning to bring back some of our special education programs this week, and then more of them in December. Returning to purple doesn't allow us to do that, although there are some provisions to bring back small groups for limited instruction that we are exploring as we speak. Our gen ed programs, so these are our regular classrooms from transitional kindergarten up through 12th grades. It's our intent to establish those back in hybrid model in January. And as with everything else, we're in distance learning indefinitely. How did we get here back to purple? there are many more cases occurring in Solano County. The positivity rate of those tested is quite high. We're wavering on a daily basis. Well, I think our 7-day average today was at 10%. So we would have to be at 7 or below to avoid that purple tier element. And the number of cases is increasing as well. And just really quickly, it's a 5-week process to move from purple to red. And the final 2 weeks of that are when you are, it's announced that the county is in the red tier, but you have to remain in the red tier for 2 weeks before a reopening date is established. So you're at 3 in purple, including the time where you get to, so this would be week 1, we're in purple. If magically we had the next 2 weeks that met red conditions, after those 2 weeks, you would get the red label. You have to be in red for 2 weeks, and then you get the reopening nod. So in best case, well, standard operations, 5 weeks from now before you could potentially be in the red, and we just don't expect that to happen with the current conditions out there. So safety planning, we're in really good shape. We've met with our bargaining groups, some clarifications and additional details needed. We have a ton of PPE on hand, cleaning, disinfecting already present and being used across the district. We have a large number of laptops for staff and Chromebooks for students that are here and being distributed. The Chromebook rollout will begin in just a little bit of time. All those are being checked in and set up, and those will be able to replace some of the older machines that are out with students already. And unfortunately, we continue to see some families struggle with connectivity issues. Currently having some discussion about how to address perhaps some in-person support in very small groups for those families. A lot of families who are out in the rural areas of the district can't get the cell phone signal even to support the hotspot device. We're meeting every week with both of our negotiations groups, the Dixon Teachers Association and SEIU. As we've said many times, we are obligated to negotiate changes in working conditions with them. And you heard from both Kathy and Susie tonight that the chapter presidents, that we're all on the same page. We all want our students back to be able to support them and teach them in the best ways possible, and that's in the in-person model to the greatest degree that we can. What do we talk about in negotiations? Safety. What do we do when there's a positive case or exposure? What do we do for employees who may need a leave or medical accommodations? What's going to happen when we have some families in distance learning and some in hybrid? How do we deal with teaching assignments, class rosters? What would our instructional schedules look like in hybrid, if there's any changes that we need to make? And then the fact that when we get to hybrid, get to reopen, that teachers will need time in their classrooms to get set up and prepare for students in the rooms with them. Desk arrangements, maybe even some decorations on the bulletin boards and those old-fashioned kind of things we didn't get to do this year. Progress is happening with both groups. You know, our conversations are very positive and constructive. We are not at odds. We are not arguing. We are working through these difficult issues. Some of those issues on that previous page we've been talking about and are really well established. A couple of the others, we have more conversation to have. We really want to get our MOUs done absolutely as soon as possible, and especially well in advance of the time where we return to the red tier. And just this week, we were able to agree to increase the amount of time that we will be spending at the negotiations table, in particular with our teachers. To their great credit, they have only been at the table with us after they're done working, after their duty day is over. And typically when we negotiate, especially with complicated issues, we'll spend a whole day doing so. And the DTA negotiating team members have not wanted to miss their class time. It's very difficult to plan for a substitute. It's very less effective to have a substitute than the regular classroom teacher in the room, Zoom room or not. So we are going to be scheduling some full day sessions, and that'll help us move more quickly through this process. So 3 elements of the plan to reopen that we want to share with you tonight. And the first is that we will trigger our return based on when we enter the red tier. So we're not going to attempt to set a reopening date. We have just absolutely no clue right now when that may be. So once we enter red, we would begin hybrid instruction between 2 and 4 weeks after that window begins. And that depends on the conditions at the time. We would like that to be as short as possible, and would hope to begin in that 2 weeks. If there are complicating factors, it could be as long as 4. What's the rationale for this delay? In essence, we got to communicate with our families, give them time to transition in terms of getting their children to school. If we have revisions to schedules for families to be able to make those adjustments, and any other logistical issues that they may have. Currently, we know in many households, older students are supervising and supporting younger students. And if we get into those situations where families have that conflict between the children's schedules, those need to be addressed. If there is any regrouping of students or changes to staff assignments based on how families divide out between distance learning and the hybrid, we would need a little bit of time to finalize that. As I mentioned just a moment ago, transition and planning time for the physical preparations for staff to do in their classrooms to be able to welcome students in. And then the full mobilization of all the health and safety protocols. That stuff is planned out, but we're not going to kick it into gear until we know that our students are actually returning in numbers. So element number 1, we go to red, and within 2 to 4 weeks, we are fully operating the hybrid program. Element number 2 is that we will return in a staggered approach across the district, and reopening will happen simultaneously at sites across the district. So we did hear from a number of parents during, and perhaps some staff as well, during previous public comment when we were talking about starting with TKK and working our way up through elementary, and then moving to middle, and then moving to high. Really the ask to consider, could you bring back some elementaries, grade levels, while also bringing back some middle school and some high school. And so that's what this plan involves, is that we would create groups of grade levels across the district that would return together. And we have begun that structure, and with the board's direction tonight, we'll bring it back for a formal approval on December 17th. So why this way? Phasing in the grade levels at the multiple sites actually would allow us to bring back more students at a time across the district, and especially more per site. It'll allow for smoother transitions, we believe, so that you're not bringing back all the students at one school site at the same time and trying to teach them the routines and get them to follow the procedures. So group 1 in elementary school has a week to get their stuff together. Group 2 comes in, they get that week to get their stuff together. Group 1 is getting better at it. Week 3, the third group in elementary comes in, they get their stuff together, while groups 1 and 2 are further advancing and being able to adjust to this funky design. And we also think, and this is what really parents spoke to, is a larger variety of students' needs are addressed. I've expressed, I think, my own concern for transition grades, 6th grade, 9th grade. It just eats at a bunch of us about our seniors for the 2nd year in a row having far less than the desirable senior year experience. So there's that element of this approach that's also advantageous, we think. And finally, the reopening schedule is going to operate on a weekly basis. So if we have these groups of grade levels and programs across the district, then in week 1, that first group comes back. And in week 2, that second group comes back. And in week 3, that third group comes back. And whether we can break that down into 3 or 4 weeks will just depend a little bit on the specifics and really the management, our ability to manage the students and staff on the campus. As I just talked about, you've got the ability to transition more students we believe in a more effective way. And having a smaller group of students per site come in on that weekly basis, we can make the adjustments and fine-tune practices without dealing with the entire population of a campus at once. So for example, if you brought just one grade level into Dixon High in week 1, you get them in the routines. So let's just call that 250 students instead of 1,000. And you can understand how that would be a simpler task to accomplish. Timing concerns, we're scared about all the timing around this. We don't have any idea when we may be able to return to red and begin the reopening. I will participate in the Solano County Public Health meeting again tomorrow that I do every week. And I know we're going to hear from those health professionals. They have no prediction other than the anticipation we're all hearing about with extended growth of cases and a serious illness in the coming weeks and perhaps months. We're concerned that a reopening date would come so late where we question, is it feasible to do it anymore, or how much value is there in actually doing so? And that factor leads to that last bullet, just that we may end up revising our plans and not bringing all the programs at grade levels back if, for example, we are dealing with something in, let's say, spring, mid-spring, later spring. It may be that we decide just to bring a portion of our grade level span back instead of all. So what are the next steps? We're going to complete the negotiations process. So we've got all of our details around the schedules and other components that are so important here in place. We need to collect more input from families here in the short term. And then after the holiday period, as we get a better sense of when reopening may happen, actually get them to make their choice about hybrid model or continuing in distance learning. It is premature to do that now, but we will be preparing a very similar survey to what we distributed 2 months ago, about 2 months ago, 6-7 weeks ago for sure, to see what parents' take on their experience with distance learning is right now. And we're asking for that really because we want to complete an assessment of the distance learning program right now. And the next slide talks about that just a little bit more. So today is actually day 60 of our 180 day school year. So we're a third of the year under our belts, and we know we're going to be in distance learning for some time still. So we are engaging in a process with our staff to really evaluate where we are, what's working, what needs some refining, and what needs revision. So we will undergo this process here. We're meeting with our all the administrative staff tomorrow morning just to further define what's going to happen at each site in terms of gathering input. We will have everything laid out for how that'll work right after the Thanksgiving break. Administrators are going to work with their staff on collecting the input and having the discussions. And then we'll come back on December 17th and present to the board on our progress at that point in time. What have we learned? What are we planning? What kind of timelines do we have in place? We know that staff is working very hard on distance learning. We know that students and families are working very hard on distance learning. I think we can also all recognize, without diminishing anyone's effort, that we can make improvements in the program and have better outcomes for our students. That's what we're all about here, right? So a quick summary. What are the elements here that we are currently pursuing and asking for your blessing on? So we need to complete our memorandums of understanding. Those are in front of us and we're working on those really in some form, whether we're at the negotiations table every day or not, which we're not. We are working on those MOUs on a daily basis. We'd have our reopening plan triggered by the return to the red tier. So the 2 to 4 weeks from the time that we get that red tier date, we will begin the reopening process. We would stagger the grade levels and programs across the district, so it's not just at one level at a time. We'd get that full reopening done across the district in a 3 to 4 week period. And immediately we're doing this review of distance learning and making adjustments as we determine them appropriate. So questions, comments?
Great, thank you, Brian. Any board questions or comments?
I have a comment that I would like to add. So addressing the distance learning review process, I wanted to add also that I will be doing the same thing, but
Great.
not with the adults, with the students. And I will have information regarding that on the 17th as well.
Super.
Wonderful. Thank
So
you.
Luke, Lucas, we can coordinate on that leading into that and make sure that we embed that information in the full presentation. So we'll spend some time working on that together. Super.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good data to have, of course. Any other board questions or comments? Okay, then let's go out for public comment. Any public questions or comments on this item?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none then. Yeah, I guess you want direction. Oh, I see John Geyer waving his hand. Are you trying to comment, John? You're muted.
I'm sorry. I was trying to
Nope.
look at other emails.
No problem. Go ahead, John.
My goodness, I'm surprised that there's no public comment, so I'm trying to get my thoughts together here. Obviously, we're all incredibly disappointed by this turn of events, and you know, and I'm not trying to cast any disparaging remarks or anything or feelings. I mean, I know again when this has happened, you know, we're all kind of, you know, feel like we're sliding back down the hill and just devastated with this. So, you know, and I understand what Mr. Dolan is saying, certainly, and I respect what you're saying. And I would just hope that the district now doesn't, and please don't take this, you know, to be offensive or anything, but that we don't now see this as a reprieve, you know, because what I'm concerned about is we've been dealing with this since March, and we talked last year about all these things that were going to be in place, and then it seemed like, you know, just kind of stalled, and then we were going to reopen with, you know, with the red tier. It just seems to me that I would hope that the district is ready, that once the new tier does, you know, is allowed, that and I know you're saying there's going to be this 2 to 4 week period of time. I would hope that we can just flip a switch, you know, when we're ready to go, now that we have this time, that we're ready and able to, as soon as the county tells us we're in the new tier, that we're ready to go, rather than this, whatever this may be, another 2 to 4 week period where we're still thinking about things and trying to implement things. And I understand that it's going to be difficult to get all the, you know, the parents on board and the families on board, but, you know, let's have everybody kind of ready and wait, so that once it does happen, that, you know, hopefully it shouldn't take an entire another month, because you know, what I'm hearing you say, Mr. Dolan, is that, you know, we may get to a point where, well, now it's, you know, now it's the holidays, then it's spring break, and let's never mind, you know, let's just cast this entire year aside and we'll deal with it when we come back after the summer. You know, and I understand, and again, I'm not privy to any of the negotiations that are going on, and you certainly can't talk about the specifics, but I have to tell you, you know, having been a litigator for 27 years, that when opposing counsel and I are in agreement and we're all pulling in the same direction, those negotiations don't last too long. I mean, that's usually a pretty good settlement conference, right? So I don't quite understand when you say that, you know, negotiations are going fine and everyone's, you know, on the same side of issues. I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical of that when I hear that, because now you're talking about all day negotiating events, and you know, it just doesn't seem to ring true. So I'm a little concerned about that. One other question I would have is, and I know, you know, I'm sure you probably haven't asked me about the legalities of it or anything, but there's been talk of a vaccine coming out, right? Obviously, and we're all encouraged by that. Would there or could there be any kind of policy that says, listen, if you're coming back on campus, you have to have a vaccine, and I know, our oldest son was going to attend UCLA. He's doing it from from the comfort of Dixon, California. But UCLA said, listen, everybody on campus will have evidence of a flu shot, right? This was months ago, but you absolutely have to have evidence of a flu shot to come back on campus. Will we be able to say, if you're coming back on campus, everyone has to have evidence of the vaccine, and whenever it's available? And who knows? Again, I don't know about the exact availability of that, but let me think. I'm just trying to think of some other things. Anyway, that's all I can think of at the moment, and I'm sure other people have questions, or hopefully other people have questions or comments. But again, just incredibly disappointed by this, but I still believe we are going to get back to normal someday, and I'm hoping that it'll be sooner than later. And when it is available, I would just ask that the district be ready to go. Let's get the kids back.
Thank you, John.
Thank
And
you.
yes, you've stimulated other hands. So Holly's next.
Good evening, everybody. I just have a couple of questions, comments. Last week when we had the meeting, I thought that we were going to have like a timeline tonight as when we're coming back. I realize that we're in the purple and we're not coming back now. But as far as a timeline to when we are able to come back, how long is it going to take to get all the kids there? And I might have missed it, but it seemed kind of vague when Brian was going over the two plan options, as far as like, we're going to start with this grade and 2 weeks later move to this grade, just so we kind of knew what we were looking at once we are able to come back. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Mia's next.
Hi, this is Brandon. I just wanted to comment on the schedule. I agree completely with John. That first, to encourage the groups to not take this as a reprieve. Sometimes when the due date gets pushed out, it gets fuzzy, we lose momentum. But second, to just say that, been listening to these meetings now for several months, and I have to say that I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the lack of clarity, lack of direction, lack of specificity. Nothing in that plan that was proposed had anything to do with specifics. What kind of schedules are we going to entertain? What kind of plans are we going to actually have as far as sanitization? What kind of accountability is going to be baked into this? That was just a very soft, very squishy plan. And it doesn't bode well for execution. I can't say sitting here right now that I've got confidence that schools are going to open in January, let alone February. These plans it's not magic. You got to push, and it's got to be firm. And I agree also with John. If everybody's in agreement, these things go fast. I don't believe that everyone's in agreement, not all the sides, and this is going to take a lot of leadership. And I think our public should demand better, and we should be demanding it through the school board. The school board needs to help drive this. This is unacceptable. Way too long. Way too many resources have been spent on this. I've called into these meetings. I've heard other meetings going on outside of school. That it's just wheels are spinning. This is kind of ridiculous. So I got to say, I'm disappointed in the plan. This needs to pick up, and it should be way more focused. And there should be a much greater sense of urgency as to exactly how we're going to get these kids back to school. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Blanca is next.
Hi, I was first here only just to observe. I'm a nursing student, and but I do live in Dixon, and my kids do go to school in Dixon. I've been doing my clinical hours at a private school that is open and is, has kids in the classroom. So I know it's very, very different, having the public school and the private school, the numbers of students and stuff. But maybe we should start looking to see, how they're doing it. And just to let you guys know from what I've been seeing, this, a lot of people have been saying, well, kindergartners aren't going to know how to act. They're going to be playing with their masks, or these kids are amazing. All of these kids make sure that everybody's 6 feet apart. Everybody makes sure that they're wearing their masks. Oh, teacher, he's getting too close. They're so they just blew me away from these hours that I've been doing there at the school. So I know that our kids, when they go back, they're going to do amazing. So I do also, it's hard. I'm a student, I'm a mom, I work full time, and now I'm part-time teacher. So I can voice, like, as a parent, it's not only, I totally understand the teacher side, and I've taught through the computer now through the private school, and I can see how difficult it is for them to teach as well as a teacher. I mean, we just need our kids back at school. And like I said, maybe we should be looking at these other schools that are open just to see what is working for them and how we can implement some of this stuff into our school so we can start opening. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Blanca. Hold that thought till we answer comments. Okay, Ms. Garcia is next.
Let's see, can I turn on my camera?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Hello, I'm Alejandra Garcia, former DUSD student, current teacher, which is, I don't know how that happened. Oh, you guys made it happen. Thank you. I wanted to just remind everyone that while this pandemic's happening, we're all literally all still doing our regular job on top of trying to get ready for doing our regular job how we regularly used to do it. We're doing it all at the same time, and things are really hard. Everyone's struggling. We're also doing our jobs. Everyone is struggling. We need to just breathe and take it one step at a time. If we're gonna go fast, we're gonna mess up. That's what happens. You take your time, you plan accordingly, you make sure you got everything covered, because these are lives at stake. Don't forget that. And I feel like that keeps getting forgotten. Okay. And I feel very uncomfortable right now talking, but it's like I had to call off the other day because I couldn't get out of bed. This isn't an easy time for anyone, and we have to remember that. No one's being willy-nilly here. Something's happening. Don't forget that. This is real life. Everyone's under pressure. Okay, I'm done. Sorry I cried. That's who I am. Bye.
Thank you, Alejandra. Okay, Nicole's hand was up. I didn't see what happened. Nicole, if you still want to comment, feel free to raise your hand again. Kathy Michaels.
So I hear you. I'm speaking as a private person right now as DTA president. I taught in a private school for 30 years. Know the differences between private education and public education quite well. I think I would like to once again strongly encourage people to remember that we are doing this as a community. We are in purple tier as a community. We need to get out of purple tier as a community. So let's pull together and make this work. Everybody wants their kids back at school. All the teachers want to be back at their regular jobs. But in order to do that, we really, really have to pull together as a community and get ourselves out of this purple. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Nicole, did you still have a comment? I saw the hand go up and then go down again. Okay, do we have any other public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none. Brian, would you like to answer some of these questions?
Sure. I'll make a general comment at the end, I think, Luke, if that's okay, just on timing and where we are. John mentioned the vaccine. We don't know yet what may come out of the legislature or public health agencies with regards to mandatory vaccinations. We obviously have some that exist already. You can't come into school, in TK or kindergarten without your shots. Going into 7th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, you have to get the Tdap. So there are existing provisions in law. We're not sure what's going to happen with regards to those, and if there's new legislation that will mandate vaccinations or not. We can't do that on a local level. It would be something that would have to happen beyond us. Holly asked the question, how long to get kids back? Holly, in the third element, and we will post this out there so everybody can refer to it, a 3 to 4 week max period. So we would have either 3 or 4 grade level groupings. So just theoretically, group 1 are intensive learning centers, TKK, 6th and 9th, right? Just as an example. So they would be in week 1. Another group of 4 or 5 grade levels would be in week 2, and so on. So if we can accomplish that in 3 weeks, we'll do it in 3. If it takes 4, we would do it in 4. So I think previously we had talked about potentially as many as 6 to get everybody back in. So we would do it more quickly than what we had talked about before. Blanca talked about the private school models, and we consult all the time with both public and private schools. 4 of us, Catlin and Melissa from the board, and Mark Monticello, who is both our IT guy and our maintenance and operations guy, overseeing all of our safety planning. We went down, I believe it was last week, to Kairos Charter School in Vacaville, a school of about 600 students, which has been open now for might be as many as 4 weeks, to see what we could learn down there. I had a regular meeting with the other superintendents in our county this morning, where we talked about our reopening status. Vacaville was the only district in the county that actually got an MOU successfully completed and approved before we went back into purple. And so, frankly, other districts, made the decision weeks and weeks ago to hold off on any reopening efforts until January at the soonest. So, I guess my general comment would be, I get it with regards to what feels or feels like, or is, depending on your perspective, as a lack of progress here. There's all sorts of stickiness in this effort to get us reopened. I don't want to, the word agreement was used a couple times in reference to our negotiations process. We're not in a place right now where we have agreement on everything, but we are engaged in a positive, constructive process, and those are two different things. If I said we were at impasse, or that we had contentious discussions going on right now, that'd be a big problem. We are moving forward. It takes time. I appreciate Alejandra, sharing, opening up and sharing some vulnerabilities there. She's not our only employee who feels that way. And heaven knows we have students who are full of concerns and stress and troubles right now, and families, and plenty of other staff members as well. So I will own every concern or complaint or level of dissatisfaction with anything in this school district at any time. I'm the superintendent of schools, and it does end with me. What I can assure you is that we are working diligently every day, and will continue to work diligently every day to get our kids back in school. And we've got obligations throughout that whole process for our students and staff with safety and for a quality program. And so in the absence of our ability to return right now, we are going to work on addressing any issues that we are, and certainly we're aware of many, but any additional that we identify here in this review that we're going to accomplish here in the short term, we're doing a pretty good job all things considered, and especially when I hear some of my colleagues' experiences, and frankly, some of our staff who have children who attend school in other districts. We're doing a pretty darn good job overall. Bugs to work out, consistency across all classrooms, sites, content areas, absolutely growth available in many areas from me as the leader of the school district on down. But we are working this really hard. And so I would ask anybody who, I would invite, not ask, anybody who's got who's interested in talking to me about this process. This is not the venue for an individual conversation. Please call my office, 693-6300. You'll get connected with my secretary who will schedule some time for us to meet. Phone call or Zoom, not in person. But I'd be happy to speak with anyone who's got the interest in a conversation around this process and helping to understand a little bit more about it. So I will leave it there, Luke, and certainly add anything. We didn't have a lot there and not many questions, but if there's anything to add.
No, I think you covered it. I mean, there was the one comment about specificity, and that's obviously going to come with further presentation and adoption of a plan by the board.
Yep. Yeah, both of our labor groups received a presentation by Mark Monticello with safety protocols and practices. So they were complimentary for its depth and detail. They also were able to add additional questions or areas for us to flesh out. So that's the kind of work that we're doing at the table. Working on instructional schedules, making sure that we are in agreement on what is workable on a campus. So while tonight's presentation is broad in many ways, it does get us to the point of saying 2 weeks, and we don't want it to be longer than that, but we hit red and the wheels start turning. And one thing I would point out is, over the last number of weeks, we were hearing from public health, case numbers were increasing, positivity rate was increasing. We're coming towards purple. My communications I put out every Friday, please read them if you don't. There's information in them that is valuable. We're on this move towards purple. The reverse will happen when case numbers start to change and positivity rates come down. We're on the path towards red. Of course, we'll be using that period of progress towards red to enact our plans, to engage with families and staff, communication, get those things in place that we need to have in place to be able to get open. This isn't sit around and wait for the colors to change. It's not what we're doing. Our kids deserve better than that. Our families deserve better than that. Our staff deserves better than that. And it's what we're doing. We are rolling with these punches to the full extent that we can, and going to continue to do that and make sure that we are open absolutely as soon as we are allowed to be.
So, and just to restate, although everyone would love specific timelines, now that we're in purple, the best we can do is state a timeline after we go back to red, and that would be that time frame you've given, hopefully the shorter time frame. Oh, okay, great. So let's move on to item 11A2, John Knight Middle School renovation project, furniture and equipment timeline and expenditure update.
Great, thanks, Luke. I'm going to welcome in Lee Coop. Lee works for School Site Solutions Incorporated. She has been with us for many months now, working as one of our consultants on our Measure Q projects. So she's here tonight to report on our furniture and equipment over at JK, and then some contracts which we have to ask for your approval on. Please, welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Dolan. Good evening, President Foster, and members of the board, staff, and public and students. My name is Lee Coop, as Superintendent Dolan said, of School Site Solutions. We're out of Sacramento. We've been assisting the district with their facilities program, and your program is humming along in the midst of everything, all the difficulties that are happening. And I've been listening, and I truly appreciate all the work that all of you folks are doing on that side of the board. In the meantime, wheels keep turning on this side, which is the facility side. Hard to believe, but yes, things keep moving along, and we have a plan of action that is to get operations over to John Knight Middle School and open up operations. If not children, if not students, staff will be over there by January. So I want to go through, first off, this item is the furniture and equipment timeline. In the packet and posted for the public is a very detailed timeline that you've been receiving over many months, since January actually. And we are now to the point where we have the definite dates for new furniture to arrive that we have purchased and ordered. And that is a week from this coming Monday. So on November 30th, the Monday that everybody comes back from holiday, from Thanksgiving week, we will start to see large trucks arriving in a very intensive manner over at John Knight Middle School, bringing in all the new furniture and equipment, assembling that, placing that, and doing all the things that are necessary for that. That is in the midst of some construction still going on, and we coordinate very intensively and make sure there's an adequate staging area. The contractors are well aware of the timelines, and we coordinate on a daily, if not hourly basis. So you see the timeline. The big milestones here are, now we are at a point where moving boxes and labels, bubble wrap, other types of boxes, recycling toters, trash bags for trash, all of those things are now at CAJ. And teachers have instructions, and they're getting ready to get the supplemental instructions that came from our orientation meeting over Zoom that occurred on November 9th with all staff at CAJ. Superintendent Dolan facilitated that, along with the administration there, who did a bang up job on running that meeting. And the teachers and staff had great questions, and we followed up from that and are supplying supplemental instructions. The instructions are very detailed about how to pack, when to pack, how to do it, how to label, and all the little bits and pieces, everything from shredding services to how are we going to get the trash out, to what do we do with outdated textbooks. There is a mountain of details, and we are working through those and doing that. So the plan is going well, and we are well in the throes of this. It's very active right now. Packing is happening as we speak. There are also the schedules for the teachers that are working remotely, and I know that the site administration and Superintendent Dolan are working with that to coordinate that, and that has been planned. And we have given a lot of weeks for people to do the packing. They have until December 18th, the very last day before the holiday break. And at that point in time, they are instructed to take all their personal items home, and so that we avoid any kind of loss or breakage or anything of their personal items. We will not be moving any staff items that they perhaps have purchased themselves and brought into the classroom. So they take all that home. Whatever is labeled then on December 21st and 22nd, Valley relocation, which you approved for a moving contract, comes in. We move all the existing items, which are going to be mostly boxes, but also many, many other things. Everything from fitness equipment in the fitness room to lunch tables that are there that are in good shape. We've culled through the things that we need to move versus things we will leave there. And so that happens December 21st, 22nd, the first 2 days of holiday break when everybody's out of there. That's a 2-day move, starting 8 a.m. each day. By the end of that Tuesday, December 22nd, the week of Christmas, then basically things are all in JKMS that need to be there at this point. So during that time, then there will be some limited access for staff, and again, site administration and district administration coordinating on that. Some limited time for staff to get in there, set up classrooms. And then on January 4th, everybody comes back, either they're there in the classroom, or if they're remotely teaching, perhaps things stay in the boxes, and that's okay. So then they had time to kind of start to unpack. There'll be unpacking that happens all during January, I imagine, as people set up their areas. And we continue to coordinate very intensively on bringing new items there, bringing more boxes, taking away boxes, anything that's needed to facilitate that move successfully and get people situated into the new school. Mark Monticello and his staff will be moving the technology equipment and especially items with technology and setting up the network. That is a whole big job in and of itself. To cut over a network from one big site to another big site is a big deal. So that will be happening. Also, the big printer copiers go over, all kinds of things that are specialty moves, and things get moved over there. And after that, then we do an evaluation. We continue, can coordinate, help, assist, get what people need. And there might be some more internal moves here and there. And as people get settled in, we find out what they need. So that's kind of the timeline. We are right in it. It's moving along very, very well so far.
Great, thank you, Lee.
The next item I have, and I could entertain questions on both the timeline and then that memo, there's a memo attached, and that concerns the costs. So the cost on that, the timeline, or on the furniture and equipment, you as a board and also the CBOC approved as a valid Measure V Measure Q expenditure 2 piggyback resolutions. This was for the purchase of new furniture. And so that was a couple months ago when you did that, and you authorized up to $550,000 for school specialty, who is supplying the furniture for most of the school, and Campbell Keller, who is supplying the furniture and equipment for the library area. And that was for $150,000. So $700,000 total for furniture and equipment, new furniture and equipment. Right now, we are under budget on that. For school specialty, remember the cap was $550,000. The original big PO, the purchase order that we issued, was $471,000 and change. So we'll be under budget, which is purposeful. That allows additional purchases under your authorization as the site users get into the site and we realize we need some more stuff. And that happens. These are not wish list items. These are not frivolous items. The site administration they're very budget conscious, believe me, and we're ordering things that are needed. So they may be a small space in JKMS that we didn't furnish. I didn't furnish on purpose because I wasn't sure what was happening in that small space. And then we find out, well, that's going to be an office for X. And then so the office furniture needs to be there. So those are the kinds of additional expenditures that we may have. With Campbell Keller, their big purchase order was $103,111 and change. And that was for the library. So also under budget on that. We haven't gotten to the point of knowing that we'll need anything extra yet on that. But I do anticipate some extra expenditures under your authorization that's already been approved for both companies. So I did want to report on the expenditure side of it, that we have done that ordering of the furniture under your authorization. These are information items only. I would entertain questions, comments.
Super, thank you, Lee. Any board questions or comments? Seeing none. Let's go out to public comment. Any public questions or comments on this item?
Seeing none.
Being none, okay, let's move on to item 11A3, John Knight Middle School Renovation Project Commissioning Services, GLUMAC.
Thank you very much. This is for, again, for John Knight Middle School Renovation Project. This is a new contract with a company called GLUMAC. For a successful renovation project or any really any school, K-12 public school district, California construction project, when there's new systems put in like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, lighting controls, energy management controls, electrical, any other systems that are under a commissioning process, which I'll explain momentarily. We need a commissioning agent who is a third party. And what they do is they look to see, they test the systems like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, again, the lighting, some other remote systems. It could be some, let me look here. Mostly it's HVAC, also domestic hot water systems, electrical distribution systems. We talked about this at the CBOC meeting last night, and we had a very nice detailed conversation with a lot of questions. So I'll kind of follow up with that information. So the reason why a commissioning agent is needed, it does provide a third party look. So like a structural engineer does design these systems under the architect. We have a general contractor with some subcontractors, numerous subcontractors who install these systems per the plans and specifications. Then the commissioning agent comes in and does that third-party check to make sure that those systems are operating correctly and within California Energy Code, other engineering codes, other requirements from other regulatory bodies, and per the plans and specification standards that have been set for this project by the architects and engineers. They issue a report, and if there's something wrong, let's say the HVAC system, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, are the systems not working, particular units, maybe the rooftop units on a certain building are not working the way it's supposed to be with energy efficiency and the operations they're supposed to do. When they issue that report, then of course, the contractor gets that report. They tell the subcontractor, fix it. So that's why we need that commissioning agent. These systems are very, very complicated. And it's not just a matter of a domestic or residential construction project where you're putting in your HVAC system, a new air conditioner, and you have an inspection and there you go. But with taxpayer money, we want to make sure that these things are working correctly and the most efficient possible. The energy efficiency, of course, saves the utility costs for the school district, which comes out of general fund. So the better we have energy efficiency, the more money the district has for kids, for education. So it's a good thing that we do that. So that's kind of a long-winded explanation. We went through a procurement process. The construction team solicited for quotes, got 2 responses back, one from a company called Interface Engineering. I have in the memo that it's from Portland, Oregon, but that's incorrect. They also have a San Francisco office, which I'm sure that's where that came from. And also GLUMAC. The Interface Engineering was considerably higher cost, and we went with the GLUMAC. And they met the requirements of the scope of service, and we are recommending that a contract be approved by you for that.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Any board questions or comments? Seeing none. Any public questions or comments on this item?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve item 11A3, John Knight Middle School Renovation Project Commissioning Services, GLUMAC.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Jewel? You're muted, Jewel.
Aye.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Catlin,
Aye.
and I'm I as well. And Lucas?
Aye.
Great, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 11A4, John Knight Middle School renovation project, Wallace Cool and Associates.
Okay, these are a couple of items that we found in the files. These were contracts that were actually procured through Wallace Cool and Associates back in 2019, but were inadvertently not put on the board for your consideration. We want to make sure that that is done for contractual purposes and for audit purposes. We need to have things come to the board, contracts like this. So Wallace Cool is working on successfully for the testing and inspection. They are our testing lab for this project. They're out of Sacramento. And their original contract was for $40,150. It has obviously increased since then, but that was their original thing to get us out the door. This was, they were solicited for a quote, and that was approved back in August of 2019. But like I said, it was not brought to the board after that. So we apologize for that. That should have been done, but we want to remedy that right now. And so we would ask for ratification of this contract in the amount of not to exceed $40,150.
Okay, do we have any board questions or comments? Any public questions or comments on this item?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 11A4, John Knight Middle School renovation project, Wallace Cool and Associates, testing and inspection services.
I move to approve item number 4A for the John Knight Middle School.
Thank you, Jewel. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Lloyd,
Aye.
Jewel,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Catlin.
Aye.
I'm I as well. And Lucas?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, on to 11A5, Dixon High School Agricultural Building Project, Wallace Cool and Associates.
Okay, so this is a non-Measure Q. The agricultural building project over at Dixon High School is not funded out of Measure Q, so I want to be very clear about that. But we were under the same kind of circumstances where some of these smaller contracts, there's a slew of contracts that have to get approved. A lot of subconsultants like testing labs, inspectors, things like that, that you have seen over the past couple years for this project and for JKMS. They sometimes get past us and they get on with the project and then they don't get onto the board agenda. So again, apologies. This was inadvertently left off, and it was, again, a quote for Wallace Cool and Associates, who did successfully work on the agricultural building project, the farm project. And this was again back in August 2019. And it was in a not to exceed amount of $25,850. Again, they do the testing for all kinds of things that are required. I should note the scope of their work includes compaction testing for soil, earthwork for decomposed granite, any kind of surface work like that, also concrete testing and other kinds of tests. So there was a lot of that over at the farm building, and so they have performed that. Again, that project is pretty basically done except for the final electrical connection with PG&E, and of which James Bombachi of our team is working diligently to finalize the easements necessary for that. So again, I would ask, this is a ratification of this at $25,850. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Any board questions or comments?
I drove by it on Tuesday. I'm very impressed with the facilities that have been built. I look forward to the day when we can actually have kids over there working at the farm.
Looks good. Looks good. Okay, any public questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve Dixon High School Agricultural Building Project Wallace School and Associate Testing and Inspection Services Contract Ratification.
I'll move.
So moved.
Oh, I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call vote. Lloyd?
Aye.
Jewel?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catlin?
Aye.
I'm I as well. And Lucas?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Lee.
Lee.
And we're on to item 11B1, site plans for student achievement, SIPSAs for Anderson, Gretchen Higgins, and Tremont.
Good evening, Board. Superintendent Dolan. So tonight I present to you our SIPSAs for our 3 elementary schools. And apologies in advance, something happened with our cover sheet that the discussion was not listed there. So I'll kind of quickly cover what was there and as a brief explainer. So first off, these plans principally discuss how our schools are going to spend our Title I allocations. Title I dollars are federal funds that we receive based on the number of students who qualify us for those dollars. All 3 of our elementary sites receive Title I dollars, as does our middle school, C.A. Jacobs, JKMS. We will hear from JKMS and Maine Prairie High School with their SIPSAs at the December meeting. This is a atypical time for us to bring these plans to you. For those of you who've been on the board for some time, you probably remember these coming right around when we'd be approving the LCAP late spring or maybe the meeting after that in summer. And traditionally, these plans work in concert with the LCAP, which is our district plan, which is why those plans are presented together. Fortunately, unfortunately, the LCAP obviously this year did not happen due to the closure. We had a much different plan that was presented to you in September. So these plans sat on the shelf for a little bit for us. I will say that these actions and services that are listed here were things that we've either our continuance of funding that we've done, we're funding things that we've funded in the past, and were parts of a conversation that were happening last year at the site level pre-closure. We also wanted to leave a little space for ourselves as we started this year and knew that we would need to be flexible with these plans once we got going with distance learning and subsequent return whenever that happens. We didn't want to delay these any longer. There's actually no statute that says by when these plans need to be approved, unlike LCAP, which is a very firm before July 1st. So we're not in any sort of, even though this is tardier than we traditionally would like to bring those to you, we're not out of compliance or anything by bringing the plans to you at this point. So the discussion would have said all that. Unfortunately, the cover sheet does not say that, but I wanted to make sure I covered most of that in my conversation with you. But we do present these for your approval this evening.
Great, thank you, Nick. Do we have any board questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go out to public comment on this. Do we have any public questions or comments on this item?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the SIPSAs for Anderson, Gretchen Higgins, and Tremont.
I'll move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Lloyd?
Aye.
Jewel? Couldn't hear you, Jewel.
Aye.
Thank you. Melissa?
Aye.
Catlin?
Aye.
I'm I as well. And Lucas?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, agenda items for future meetings. Does any board member have an agenda item they'd like to put on a future meeting? Hearing none. Any board announcements?
I have a board announcement. As most people know, the school board, well, actually I shouldn't say as most people know, as some people know, the school board also serves as the library board. And in our library board capacity last week, we learned that we will be part of a phasing in of using what they're calling student access cards. And so it's using student ID numbers as automatic library cards. So every student in Dixon Unified will now have a library card by virtue of the fact that they're a student in Dixon Unified. So you won't have to have a separate card. You won't have to, you can do things online, and even, during the pandemic, you can do all of that with your student ID number as soon as this is phased in. And so it's a project that was started in Fairfield, in Solano County. That was the first place in Solano County. And we are now one of two of the second wave of the phase in, because it's something we've been really interested in for a long time. So happy to see that happening. And so look for more information from that.
Exciting.
Great. Thank you, Catlin. And yeah, and there are some things you might not be aware of through the library, like free tutoring. So, look into that. Any other board announcements? Okay, my last announcement, I guess it's not an announcement. I was just going to say I can't tell if David has been able to make it tonight, but I wanted to congratulate David and Melissa on their election to the board and wish you guys all the success and wisdom possible. Coming events, November 23rd through 27th, Thanksgiving break, December 17th, board meeting, organizational meeting, December 21st through January 1st, winter break, January 21st, board meeting, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Lou.